So now let's move on to the next block of code, and that is void loop. Okay, so what's the first thing we run into in void loop? Oh my, it is another for loop. Man. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at this for loop. Oh wow, you know what? It looks exactly like the last for loop. In fact, it's the same thing, but what's changed? The only thing that's changed is what gets executed inside the for loop. So let's just revisit this again. Okay, so what's our counter variable? It's this pin. It's set equal at 2. What's the condition? This pin less than 8. And do we increment? Yes, we increment. Okay, well, let's see what's inside the curly brackets. So first it says turn the pin on. So digital write this pin high. Well, what is this pin? Well, it matters. Let's say we're the first time through the for loop. This pin would be equal to 2. So what does this say? This says digital write pin 2 high. So we're applying 5 volts to pin 2. And then what do? We delay. Well, how long do we delay? Well, we delay for timer. What is timer? That was, if you recall back at the beginning, that was 100. So delay 100 milliseconds. So digital write this pin, that was 2. We write 5 volts to digital pin 2. We wait 100 milliseconds, and then what do? Well, we do a digital write, and we say this pin, well, what is this pin? It's 2, and then we write low voltage, so 0 volts. So what have we done in here? All we're doing is we blink an LED. We digital write high voltage, we wait 100 milliseconds, and then we digital write low voltage. So we've just blinked an LED. And what LED did we blink? Well, we blinked the this pin LED, which was 2. So now we get to the end of that curly bracket for that for loop, and what do? We add 1 to the counter variable. So this pin, it was 2, now we make it 3. So now we go back up. Is 3 less than 8? Yes, indeed, 3 is less than 8. So now what happens? Well, now we execute the code. Digital write this pin. Well, what is this pin? Well, it's 3 now. Okay, well, let's write high voltage to pin 3. Let's wait 100 milliseconds, and then let's turn off pin 3. Okay, so we write high voltage, wait 100 milliseconds, then write low voltage. So now we just blinked pin 2. Now we blink pin 3. And guess what happens when we get to the end? That's right, we increment it. Now it's going to be pin 4, and guess what's going to happen? We're going to blink pin 4, then we're going to blink pin 5, and then we're going to blink 6 all the way through 7. And then what happens at 7? Well, once we get to 7, we have to add 1 to the counter variable. That would make it 8, and then the condition would no longer be met for the for loop, and so we're kicked out of the for loop. Do you get it? So this is taking us all the way from 2 through 7. So digital pin 2 through digital pin 7 all get blinked in just these couple lines of code. That's pretty awesome, isn't it? But hey, we want to go back and forth. So we went from 2 to 7. Now we want to go from 7 down back to 2. So how do we do that? Let's look at another for loop. Oh my gosh, so many for loops. My brain is hurting here. So this one is a little different. This, the DJ says, let's start at pin 7. Okay, so this pin is equal to 7, and then let's make the condition this pin is greater than or equal to 2, and then let's spin the record in reverse. So this pin minus minus, again, all that means is subtract 1 from this pin. Okay, so let's think about this. Okay, so let's go the first time through the loop. We're the computer program. So this pin equals 7. Then we check the condition. Well, okay, is 7 greater than or equal to 2? 7 is definitely greater than 2. So let's execute the code. So what do? Digital write. Okay, this pin. What is this pin? It's 7. What do? We write high voltage to pin 7. And what happens? We wait 100 milliseconds, and then we write low voltage to pin 7. Okay, so what have we done? We've blinked digital pin 7. Okay, and then we get to that last curly bracket, and what do? Well, we subtract 1 now from this pin. So now what is this pin? Now it's 6. So is 6 greater than or equal to 2? Yes, 6 is greater than 2. So let's go ahead and execute the code. So now digital write, this pin, it's 6. So now the the LED at pin 6 is going to be written high voltage. So it's going to turn on. We're going to wait 100 milliseconds, and then we're going to digital write pin 6 low. Okay, I think you can see where this is going. So now we're going to subtract 1 from 6. Now we get to 5. We check the condition. Is 5 greater than or equal to 2? Yes, it is. We execute the code. Now we blink the LED at pin 5. So can you see what's going here? In that first for loop, we started at pin 2. So 2 blinks, 3 blinks, 4 blinks, 5 blinks, 6 blinks, and 7 blinks. And then we leave that for loop. And now we come on to this next for loop. And what happens? Guess what? 7 blinks again. Then what happens? 6 blinks, 5 blinks, 4 blinks, 3 blinks, 2 blinks. And after 2 blinks, the pin number 2 blinks, that is, the condition is going to no longer be met because this pin would be equal to 1. And 1 is definitely not greater than 2, and it's not equal to 2, so we're going to jump out of that for loop. And then once you jump out of that for loop, you're at the end of the entire loop function. So you would start right back at the top. So what have we done? We've blinked from 2 to 7, from 7 to 2, and that finishes the loop. And then we'd go right back into the loop. And we blink from 2 to 7 and 7 to 2. Okay, that is this program. All right, so let's take a look at it on the Arduino. All right, let's go ahead, verify the code, and upload it. And you can see it goes from 2, it goes to 7, and then it goes back down to 2. Over and back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Okay, so I think you can see the power of the for loop here. Really awesome tool. Okay, you need to master this. It's very important. In fact, you need to master the if statement that we've talked about already, and you also need to master this for loop. You really need to wrap your head around it. So I highly recommend jumping in to the try it on your own, okay, challenge. Do the try it on your own challenge. Mess around with a lot. Really wrap your head around this, because the more you understand this statement and the if statement, the more power is going to be at your fingertips. All right, thank you so much for listening, and I cannot wait to see you at the next tutorial. Have a great one.